myself, Dr. M. Lakshmi Prasad, working as an associate professor in the Department of Data Science in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. In this video, I'm going to discuss about what are the various data types in R programming. So there are so many types of many programming languages like integer, character, float, and like this in C, C++, Java, and Python. So similarly, in R programming, also are going to see some of the data types like numeric, integer, character, factor, and logical. So here, this numeric able to contain the decimals as well as the whole numbers, and integers which should able to contain only the whole numbers, and characters data type which is going to hold the character strings, and the factors which is going to hold a predefined values, and it is going to be used to store as the categorical data, and logical which can be able to take only the two values like true and false. uh, okay, so here what I'm going to say that is numeric is able to contain decimal values and whole numbers. So suppose if I want to hold the data like 10.12 and 1.3, 1.5, so these and all will be the decimal values, and whole numbers 10, 20, and 35 like this. So this kind of data is going to be held in numeric data type. And integer means it is going to be hold only the whole numbers, so that should be like this. And characters data type which is going to hold the characters. And factor, so factor is nothing but a vector which is going to hold the predefined values and is going to be used to store the categorical data only. And logical means that which can be able to take the two values like either true or false. And some other data types in R is that vector. So vector is going to be used when I'm going to hold the one dimension value. So that means which is going to be take the sequence of data elements of same basic data type. And matrix is going to hold the two dimensions. So it should be also like a vector, but additionally is going to contain the dimension attribute. And array is nothing but two or more dimensions, which is going to be hold multi-dimensional data, and these matrices are going to be a special case of two-dimensional arrays. And data frame, so it should be also be hold two dimensions, like table like data object is which is going to be allowed different types of data of different columns. And list is another data type, so which is going to be hold a collection of data types where each element should be of a list is a data type. Okay, so these are the some of the data types that is going to have. So vector, so vector is going to have hold the one dimensional values like this, so 10, 20, 30, and 40. So see how can you able to create that C of 10, 20, 30, and then 40. So like this I'm going to create a vector, and matrices, so it should be of two dimensions which is going to be hold. And suppose matrix means, suppose if I want to hold the matrix form of the data, so then I can able to use the matrix data type. And then array, so by make use of array you can able to hold either it should be single dimensional, multi-dimensional, and more than that also the array can able to hold that. And data frame, so the data frame is nothing but which is going to hold the two dimensions where it should be like a table like structure. So if I want to hold the data frame like this of the table form, then I can make use of this data frame which is going to have the different columns. And list is also going to be have a collection of data elements, so where you can able to hold the sum of one is integer, character, like this, that you can able to hold it. So let's see one by one how the numeric and then strings, vector, matrices, and all we're going to see now. So very first thing is that numeric data type, so which is going to hold the decimal values as well as the whole numbers. So which can able to create two numeric objects like x and y, and then which is also going to assign the values 4.5 and 3567 respectively. So how can I able to do that? Suppose x is the variable, I'm going to hold a value of x 4.5. So if I'm going to type x, then this value should be 4.5. Similarly, if I'm going to hold the value of a whole number like 3067, so that is going to be held by the value y. So if you type this, then I can able to know. So how can able to know that whether this should be an integer, or there should be a character, it should be a string, or how can able to know that? So for that I need a function called class function. So by make use of this function, can able to check the object of the type, or where what type of it is, like whether it is a numeric or not. So if I'm going to write the class of x, so x is 4.5, right? So it should be of the type numeric. Similarly, if I want to know y is equal to 3, 5, 6, 7, so what type of class? So previously it should be a numeric, or it may be also like integer also. So what type of class? So similarly I can able to say that this should be the numeric, or it should be integer. So it is going to be specified only that's numeric only. Suppose if I'm going to write, suppose a, so a is some 2.4, what type of variable it is I want to know. So for that I have to use a class function. So class of a, if I want to specify, then it can be able to specify this should be an type numeric. Okay. Similarly, suppose if I want to know, so I want to change the value of a to some 35, so I can also know which should be of this. Suppose if I want to know, I can able to change it, this should be a character, then I can able to, by make use of this class function, it is able to say that should be of the string character. So R is going to hold a class of integers x and as numeric, and then in order to convert it into integer format, we have to make use of this integer function. Suppose an integer object I want to convert into another form, or I want to convert into numeric, or I want to convert it. So what is the values I'm going to take, that should be numeric only. So for this numeric, I want to convert into numeric to integer. So for that, what I have to do, I have to make use of this function, integer function. So in order to do this integers, how can integer function? So how can I able to write? So x is the value initial I'm taking as a whole number. Now I want to convert into integer form. So for that I'm going to write x as dot integer of x. So that initially previously it should be of this type numeric. So now I will convert it into integer. So I can able to know that by use of this class of x function only. So okay, so by make use of this class function, I can able to know what type of data type it is, and then in order to convert this numeric into integer, I have to make use of this integer function. And next one, in order to create an integer variable, so how can able to do that? So for that, just now I told as dot integer function. Initially I'm going to take a value of integer of 232.5. So initially this should be the integer. I'm converting how to can able to convert into that. So for this I'm going to write a class of f, so it is going to specify it should be an integer only. Suppose if I'm going to take x is equal to 8, so if I'm going to know class of function, so by default it should be numeric only. Okay, so x equal to 8, so if I want to know what type of data type it is, so class of x I have to write. So by default it should be a numeric class only. Whenever I'm going to write a function like integer of something, then automatically it should be an integer only. By default it should be numeric, but by making use of this integer function, it should be converted into integer. And next one is character. So character object is going to be used to represent the string. So where the string should be a collection of characters, which is going to be specified in a double quotation as well as single quotation. So normally if I'm going to take some C programming, so the characters are going to be specified in single quotation and the strings are going to be specified in double quotations. But on R programming, it should be work. So either I can able to use a single quotation as well as the double quotation. So in order to convert an object into character type, so I have to make use of this as dot character function. Okay, suppose see here, so z is equal to this welcome to world of R. Okay, so in this what type of data type I want to know for this. So if I'm going to specify x is equal to 4.5, so what is the value? 4.5, right? So I want to know what should be the class of Z here. So if I'm going to specify the class of Z, then it should be specify that it should be a character only. So it looks like a string, like, but the data type should be a character by default. So what is the value I'm going to be enclosed in? Either it should be a value itself. X is equal to, just know what is here. If I'm going to specify to 3.2 in double quotations, okay, so then automatically X should be a character. And next one is that factor. So factor is going to be used to characterize the data and then able to store both the strings and integers. So for that, how can I able to I can able to do this data factor. So for this, create an object x. So initially create and x is equal to c of vector I'm writing. So vector of high, medium, low. Some values I specified. So by make use of this CF function, you can able to combine this data type of different types. Okay. So how does an factor, by making use of this factor, I can able to combine both the strings as well as integers into a single form. So now I have to check whether the object x is the factor of character I want to know. So for this, I have two functions like is factor of and then is character of. So is factor of the function is going to be used to return either true or false, so after checking whether object is of the type factor or not. Okay. So whatever the x I'm taking here, this should be, I want to is factor. So is factor of the function to check whether this x is this character or it should be a factor. So by making use of the is factor, it should be able to return that either true or false based on that if this object is the factor. Otherwise, it is going to be written false if it is not the factor. Similarly, if is character, so is character is means this function also going to be written either true or false only, but only after the checking whether the object is of the type character or not. So by making use of these two functions, I can able to specify whether this x variable it should be of the type whether it should be a character or it may be a factor. So how this object is going to be created by making use of this factor of function. So factor function is there. So in this factor of function, so I want to create this. Previously, how can I able to create it? By making use of this vector I created. So now I want to create through the factor function. So in this factor function, so a factor is a categorical variable, so which can able to take only the fixed one and should be the final set of possibilities. And these possible categories should be the levels. So the levels are to be unique data values. And okay, so the output is going to be tell that how many levels are there in X. So alternatively, you can able to use the levels of function to check this values. So uncreated previous thing. So previous thing what I created, that should be through vector C of function I make use of. So here I'm going to use the factor of x. So in this factor of x, so this is the data I'm having. So high, medium, low, and then low, medium, high, 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 medium, low, low. In order to this, I can able to finalize the what is going to be repeated the most number of times and what are the final levels in this one. So by making use of this factor function, it is going to be display only high, medium, low. So this thing is going to be repeated most number of times. So that should be that. The factor should be a category variable which is going to be hold only the fixed and final set of possibilities only. So and at the same time, those possible categories should be at the levels, and these levels should be at unique data values only. Suppose if an object is going to have 11 elements, so by default, how many levels are there? There should be 3 levels only. So based on the order of sorted alphabetically. So what is the data in this factor of x? We are going to have high, medium, low. In this high, medium, low, so what are the unique values that is going to be taken out? The repetition is going to be eliminated, and that thing should be at the sorting order. And next one is that logical type, data type, so which is going to be take only the two values, so that is either true or false. Logically, logical type of object is going to take either true or false only. So suppose I'm going to create an object of x and I'm going to assign the value 4.5. So x is 4.5. So by default it should be a numeric quantity. I want to convert into integer. So for that, what I have to do, I have to make use of this integer function. So integer function is going to check whether it should be of the type integer or not. If it is this integer, then I can able to specify it should be written true. Otherwise, it is going to be written false. So similarly, I'm going to create the two numeric objects like x and y, sorry, y and z. I have to check whether y is greater than z or not. So how can I able to do that? So I'm going to write x is equal to y equal to 4 and z equal to 7. So how can I able to find out I want to make the comparison? So y is greater than z. So whether y is greater than z, so 7 is greater than 4. Right. So what is going to have? It should be false. Why? So what kind of the statement asking for to evaluate the logical expression? Is this true? The y is greater than y? Z. So the answer is the above question is typically logical. So because we can able to check only the class of object. So what type of class of object it is? It should be of numeric, right? So if this numeric, so by making use of this class of function, I can able to identify whether it is an integer or it may be a numeric number. So based on that only it is going to be finalize the result. And next one is vector. So vector is going to be have different types of vectors like a numeric vector, character vector, and logical vector. So all the elements of the vector of the same type. So in order to convert this an object into vector type, so I have to make use of this vector function. Okay, so normally I'm going to create the three vectors like numeric, character, and logical. So all the elements of the vector of the same type. So in order to convert an object into vector, I can able to make use of this vector function. So numeric vector. So numeric vector means C of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5.36 minus 2, 4. So this all this value should be a numeric vector by making use of the C of function only. And character vector, so I'm going to create a variable b, and then by making use of this vector C function, I'm going to create this character vector. So all these are not string, they should be characters only. And logical vector, so I'm going to create the values, whether I have to check whether the C is greater than 5 or not. So then what will happen here? The C, whether C is greater than 5, false. Next, C 5 is greater than 24, true. 5 is greater than 6, true. 5 is greater than 4, false. 5 is greater than 2, false. And 5 is greater than 7, true. Okay, like this we are going to be display the logical vector. Each and every value is going to be compared. So the vector should be the combination of all the values, whether it should be like numeric or it may be an integers or it may be decimal numbers. And by making use of the C function only, I can able to create the vectors, and then in order to convert an object into vector, I have to make use of this vector function only. And there are three types of vectors. So very first thing is that numeric vector, and the second one is character vector, the next one is logical vector, and next one is matrices. So matrices is a two-dimensional data structure, so it is similar to the vectors, but additionally you are going to maintain the dimension attribute here. So in order to convert an object into matrix, I have to make use of this as dot matrix of function. So same thing, so as dot matrix of function, as dot vector. So by making use of that only, you can able to create the functions, predefined functions in our programming. So how this matrix is going to be created? So create a matrix of 3 rows and 2 columns. So like 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to create 3 rows and 2 columns. I want to specify. So how can I able to do that? So matrix of function. and vector creation of the elements. And here additionally I'm going to specify the dimensions. So how many number of rows and how many number of columns. So 3 rows and then 2 columns. So suppose if I want to create 2 rows, and 2 columns, how can I able to write? So the n of number of rows equal to 2 and n number of columns equal to 2. So then how the elements will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 rows and 3 columns, right? So this should be the structure of the matrix. And next one, matrix of C of this number of rows, columns, and by 2 it should be true. By row it should be true. So what about this? So additionally, I'm going to create another attribute. So by row equal to true. So by row true for matrix row wise. So by row means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means I want to make this indication. So by true equal to true fills the matrix row wise only. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like this I can able to specify. So these are some of the syntaxes will have to be removed for creating the matrices in R programming. Suppose matrix of vector and created, number of rows is one attribute and number of columns. Additionally, I'm going to use this by row. So by row equal to true means it is going to be fills the matrix row wise. And next one is arrays. So arrays is nothing but a homogeneous data element which is going to be hold whether can able to create a two-dimensional or can able to make use of three-dimensional as well. By creating an array, suppose I want to create a 4 columns, 3 rows, and by make use of these 2 tables, I want to create it. So how can I able to do that? So for this, I'm going to write array of function only. So array of 1 is to 24. So 1 is to 24, I'm going to generate the values. So in what function means I can able to make use of this dimension attribute. So by making use of this dimension attribute is going to specify 3 rows, 4 columns, and 2. So normally this array is going to be used to create an array in R where R is going to be give the data as the first argument and the vector with sizes of dimension as the second argument. So that means the dimensions take the dimensions of the array. So okay. So although the rows are going to be given as the first dimension, then the tables are going to be filled column wise only. Okay. Suppose if I'm going to make the dimension attribute true, then only it is going to be filled the row wise. Otherwise, it is going to be filled column wise only. So for R, so R is going to be filled the columns, then rows, and then set rest. Next thing should be the rest of that. So what I'm going to create it here, so I'm going to create the 3 rows, 4 columns, and then set 2. So that means, so I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So okay, so all the time the values are going to be filled in column wise, whereas in matrix it is going to be filled in row wise. Okay, by setting this by row equal to true. So previously what happened, so I'm going to fill the values column wise 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 column wise. But here whenever I'm going to make this row as true, so what will happen, so all the values are going to be filled with column wise here like this. So similarly in rows also I can able to fill the value by default. It should be filling column wise only. If I'm going to specify the dimension as the true, then I can able to fill through row wise. So 12. So similarly, what is the next one? Number of 2, right? So the array of 24 values is going to be created with 2 arrays, 2-dimensional. And next one is the data frame. So data frame is a 2-dimensional array like structure. So it is a list of vectors of equal length. And so these data frames are going to be a primary data structure in R. So in order to convert this object into data frame, I have to make use of this as dot data dot frame function. Okay, so this data frame should be a two-dimensional array-like structure. So two-dimensional array-like structure. So it should be also a list of vectors which should be equal length. And this data frames should act as the primary data structure in R programming. And I want to convert this object into data frame and make use of data.frame function. So in order to create the data from different vectors, so I can able to make use of x is equal to 1, 12, 23, 45, and y should be 13, 21, 6, and z should be ABC. So like this, I'm going to create the vectors x, y, z, and so now I'm going to create data.frame of x, y, z. So data.frame of x, y, z. So this the function is going to be combined all these variables into table form. Okay, so this is the one vector, and this is character vector. So now what I'm doing is I am going to combine this into table form. So how can I able to combine that by making use of data.frame of x, y, z, which I'm going to specify. So all the three vectors are going to be clubbed, and then what is the value of x? 12, 23, that 45 is one vector, and 13, 21, 6 is one vector, and ABC is the other vector. So like this, I can able to combine all these data frames into all the data vectors into form of data frame. So like this, we can able to specify these data frames into different uh, formats as well. And next one is the list. So what is the list? So list is nothing but a data structure which is going to have a components of mixed data types. So normally previous thing is the homogeneous data elements. So homogeneous means all should be of the same type only. But here the list should be of which is going to be whole different data types. So one is integer and there is floating and there is character like that type of facility is going to have in list. And in order to convert this list, so same function as dot list of function is going to be used. So in order to create the list of two vectors as numeric, so what I'm going to say is, so initially I'm going to create a vector 2, 3, 5. So in this 2, 3, 5, so I'm going to create another vector. So S, so it should be of the type characters. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to combine all this. One is integer vector and there is character vector. So one is that 2, 3, 5 and there is that. So totally it should be 3. So in order to retrieve this enclosing index of the vector, we have to make use of this square brackets. Suppose if I want to retrieve this, I can able to write so s of 3. If I'm going to write s of 3, so what is the value of this is? So based on the indexing only, I can able to retrieve the values. Suppose if I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can able to access this. So S of 5. So what should be the S of 5? EV. So any of that. So whether it may be a list or it may be an vector or it may be an array, whatever it is. So based on the indexing only, I can able to access the values, and that we should be make use of this square operator. Okay. So these are the some of the data types in R programming what we're going to have. So very first thing is that numeric. So numeric is going to hold as a decimal and whole numbers, and integer is going to be hold only whole numbers, and characters, factors, and logical. So logical can be able to take the values either true or false, and factors may be able to take the predefined values, which is going to store the categorical data. And vector is going to hold one dimension, which is going to use the sequence of data elements, and matrix is going to hold two dimensions like the vector, so but additionally contain the dimension attribute. And array is going to have two or more dimensions, and data frame should be also a two dimension, which should be of the form table like, and the list should be the collection of data objects. And numeric, so numeric is the data type which is going to be hold the numerical values. Just know what I said. And how can able to convert? By default it should be a numeric. I have to convert into integer. For that I have to make use of as dot integer of function. So in integer of function, if I'm going to specify, by default it should be integer, otherwise it should be of the type numeric. And character is going to be used to represent the strings here. So what is the data? If I'm going to specify single quotations and double quotation, it should be treated as a character function. So how can I able to convert the object into character? By making the character of function only. In order to know that what type of class it is, I can able to make use of this class of function. And the factor is going to be for both the strings and the integers. Okay, so in order to check whether this particular object is the factor or not, I make use of this is factor of function. And similarly, I want to check whether it is a character, then I have to make use of is dot character. So create a factor object, so factor of which is going to be hold and high dimensions in having like high, medium, low, low, medium, high, and high, medium, low. So at that time, what I'm going to say is that, so is that factor of function is going to be treated the unique data, not is going to be does not hold this repetition of the data. So it is going to be hold only the unique data. So based on the different levels by making use of this levels of function. And logical is the type which is going to take only the true or false function. So and vector, so vector is another data type, so which is going to have three types of vectors like numeric vector, character vector, and logical vector. So the numeric vector should be have the values like numerical values, and logical vector means which is going to be take the values like numeric vector is going to take the values like either true or false only of the form based on the condition. And next one is matrix. Matrix is going to be two-dimensional data structure, and which is going to take the function matrix of. So by making use of this matrix of function, I'm going to create the 3 rows and 2 columns. And one is that, and based on the dimension here, so the dimension is the extra feature. So based on going to specify whether it should be how many number of rows and how many number of columns. If I'm going to specify by default, it should be filling in column wise only. By default, if I'm going to make by true or equal to, then it should be row wise. So array is nothing but a structure of under data structure, which is going to hold multi-dimensional rectangular data item. So here what I'm going to say that is, so I can able to create an array of 4 columns. So then I have to specify rows, columns, and then how many number of arrays I'm going to create it. So first array and this one, and this should be the second array. And data frame is also two-dimensional like structure, so but it should be treated as the family data structure in our programming. So it should be by making use of this data frame, I'm going to create the table by combining all the vectors into init. So here I'm going to have 3 types of vector that should be combined into a data frame. And the list is the last one, which is going to be have a data structure of mixed data types. So in order to convert this, I have to make use of this list of function. So in this list of function, what I'm going to say that is, so I can able to combine, one is an vector is integer vector, and there is floating point vector and then character vector, whatever it is, I can by make use of this, I can able to combine all this one into the form of list by make use of this list function. You can access this data by enclosing the vector by indexing only by making use of this square bracket. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.